Welcome to LuTube and this lesson on factoring trinomials, and this one is going to be using the T method. And there are two different methods that I use. These are the more complex trinomials, so we do not have a equal 1. We're going to have a number in front of the x squared, and these are a little more complex. I've done a video lesson on factoring using the method of grouping, and now I'm going to do a method that I prefer, which is a method of using the T method. And so I'm going to show you this by doing some examples. Okay, and really what this is basically envisioning all possible combinations that you could make for your answer and then figuring out which one would work best. Okay, so I'm going to just do an example. And what we do is we take all the possible factors of 3 and all the possible factors of 6, and we examine the possibilities. So when we're doing this question, we know if we're going to make two brackets here, I'm going to just go straight to the answer, and then I'm going to use some rough work for my t on the side. And ultimately, we know that the values that are going to go in front of x are going to have to be factors of 3, and the values that are going to go in m and n spot are going to have to be factors of 6. And so using that information, we can write down all the possible options that can exist, and we use what's referred to as a T, and maybe a cross is a better way of looking at it, but for some reason they call it a T. Okay, so we go like this, and we draw 3 and 1, 1 and 3 as the possible options for 3 factors of 3. And then we draw a little cross or T across, and then we make the factors of 6. And this time we don't have to write them both ways. We just write 1 and 6 and 2 and 3. So we do not have to write both options for the second one. We could write both options for the second one, and then we wouldn't have to for the first one, but we usually just write both ways for the first A value, and then for the C value we just write one way. And then what we do is we look at the sign here. This tells us that it is a sum, so we're looking for a sum of 11, okay? And we kind of already know our signs here are both going to be negative because that's the only way we can get a positive answer here and a negative answer there. So two negatives will multiply to give positive 6, and then we have two numbers that add that will give a negative. They will both have to be negative. So we're looking for a sum because this is a positive sign, okay? And we'll do some examples with negatives, so we'll look for differences. And so then what we do is we go 3 times 6, and 3 times 6 is 18. And we cross that over with 1 times 1, which is 1, and we look for the difference of these two. Well, the difference of 18 and 1 is 17. That is not 11, which is what we're looking for. We're looking for a value of 11, a difference of 11. Then what we do is we go down the list, and we go 3 times 2 is 9, and 1 times 2, so we're looking for a sum. I apologize. The sum here is 19, so that wasn't correct. Anyway, but then we're looking 3 times 3 is 9, and 1 times 2 is 2, and then we look for a sum. Oh, in fact, that is the correct answer because 2 plus 9 equals the middle term, which is 11. So that tells me these are the factors of 3 that I must use, and these are the factors of the 6 that I must use. So I can plug those numbers in. 3 and 1 go here and here, and the 2 and 3 are attached to these ones. So the 2 goes here and the 3 goes here. It's very important that these belong together. So this becomes your first bracket, and this becomes your second bracket. And there's my answer already done. And I know they both have to be minus because it's going to be minus 2, minus 9 to give me my minus 11. And you can multiply this out and check and see if you get the correct answer. And if you do that, you will see that it does work out to minus 11. You're going to get 3x times 1x, which is going to give me 3x squared. You're going to get 3x times minus 3, which is going to be minus 9, then minus 2 times 1x, which is going to be minus 2x. Those two will combine to give me minus 11x. And then finally, minus 2 times minus 3 will give me positive 6. All right, let's go on and do a couple more examples because this is the best way to show this T method. Okay, this one's a little trickier because now we have bigger numbers. So we have 16 and we have 12. But I know that I'm going to have two brackets here, and I know I'm going to have x terms. Usually I just put my brackets down to start, and then what I do is I get my T going. So I'm going to go 1 and 16, 16 and 1. Right? And then I'm going to go to, I don't know, 2 times 8 and 8 times 2, and then finally 4 times 4. Those are all my factors of 16. I'm going to draw a line down the middle and across here. And then I'm going to write my factors for 12. So I got 1 times 12, whoops, and 2 times 6, and 3 times 4. Okay, and those are all my factors of 12. I don't need to write them both ways because I've done it once one way. And now, this time I'm looking and I know that I have a negative here, so that tells me I'm going to have a difference. What that tells me is that these two signs, one's going to be positive, one's going to be negative. I don't know which one's which yet, so I'm not going to put them in. It's not bigger, smaller, like when we do simple trinomials. The more complex trinomials, I need to reserve some time here to determine that. And you're going to see how I figure that out, okay? And what I do is I do the same thing as I did above. 1 multiplies by 12. That's going to give me 12. And 16 multiplies by 1. And that would give me 16 and 12. And what's the difference? Well, the difference is 4. I'm looking for a difference of 26. That didn't work. And then I go 1 times 6 and 2 times 16. That's 32 and 6. And the difference there is, whoa, what is the difference there? 32 and 6. What's the difference? Oh, that in fact is 36. So that there works. So that gives me a 6, right? 2 times 16 gives me 32. And the difference would be 6, right? If I took 6 away from 32, I'm going to get 26, which is the number I'm looking for as a difference, okay? Now, in this particular case, I can determine the signs here. Since this is plus 26, this one would have to be plus. The bigger one would be plus, and the smaller one would be minus. So this here gets the plus sign, and this one is going to get the minus sign. And so this here, I didn't circle them up here, but I believe it's the very first one, right? First one right here. This one here is the pairing. So I am going to end up with x, 1x, which is x. These are the factors of 16 up here. So it's going to be x, and it's going to be plus 2. Okay, so that's where I get that. These are the factors of x up here, and these are the factors of the number on the back end. Okay, and then I get 16 minus 6. So this becomes 16x minus 6. Now, if you're really clever, you might notice something here, and I'm going to just erase this, but you might notice that the 16 minus 6 can be factored further because there's a 2 that can be factored out of both of them. So you can end up with putting the 2 out front. So you usually write this as 2 out front, and then take 2 out of this, and that would be 8x minus 3, and then I can write my x plus 2 multiplied on the end. It wouldn't matter, though, if I wrote the x plus 2 here or here. And had I noticed that in the beginning, I could have factored a 2 out of all of this right off the bat. And I could have ended up with changing this to x squared, 8x squared plus 13x minus 6. And then I could have tried factoring that, and that would have been multiplied by 2. So I could have common factored it first and then moved towards this method, okay? It is actually usually beneficial to get the common factors out first, but quite often, I just don't notice. You might not notice either, but you do see it. It's more obvious maybe when it gets down to just 2 terms right here. All right, let's do another example, okay? So we'll do this one here, 15x squared plus 11x minus 14. And again, bracket and bracket, and I'm going to do a T method, okay? Running out of a little room here, but I'll make it work. So I go 1 and 15, 15 and 1, 3 and 5, 5 and 3. Those are the factors of 15. And then on 14, I got 1 and 14 and 2 and 7. Now, again, I'm looking for a difference. This tells me here difference, okay? It means, what this means is that one of these has to be positive, one has to be negative, and that means my middle terms are going to be subtracted from each other, or difference, and I'm going to end up with positive 11. So it doesn't matter. I just want 11. I don't care about positive or negative. We can figure that out once we find them. So we go 1 times 14 and 15 times 1. Well, the difference between 14 and 15 is only 1. It's not 11, so that's not going to work for me. Then I go 1 times 7. That's 7. And 2 times 15 is 30. The difference between 7 and 30, okay, is 23. That's a lot of quick math in my head. That's where having good math skills in your head is going to be beneficial. Well, 23 is not my middle number, so that's gone. I'm going to cross it off. It's out of my way. Then I can keep working down. 15 times 14, well, that's one heck of a big number. It's like 200 and something. I think it's 210 if I'm correct. And then 1 times 1 right here, well, the difference there is not going to be 11, so I can count that out. Then 7 times 15 and 2, that's not going to have a difference of 11 either, because 7 times 15, I don't know what it is offhand, but what is it? 30, 90, 105 and 2. So no, 105 and 2 are not going to have a difference of 11. So I can cross that one off. And then I get to this one, 14 times 3. Well, what's 14 times 3? That's 28, 42. 42 plus, I just added 14 3 times in my head. And then 1 times 5 is 5. 42 and 5 is not going to have a difference of 11. So that's out. Then I go here, I get 3 times 7, that's 21. And 5 times 2 is 10. Uh-oh. 21 and 10 have a difference of, so let's write those in there, 21 and 10 have a difference of 11. And I want the answer to be positive 11, so this must be positive, which means the 7 must be positive, and the 10 has to be negative, which is the negative 2. So there's my answers that I'm looking for right there. Those two, I circle them, and that tells me these are the ones with X, and these are the numbers that go on the end. So this is 3x minus 2. So 3x minus 2. So I got those two as a pair for one bracket, and these two will be the pair for the other bracket. 5x plus 7. And I have my answer. I'm all done in one step. I don't have to do the factoring by grouping, breaking it apart, doing all that stuff. I don't know. I find this a pretty easy way to do it, okay? Here's another example. Well, this time we've got 2 negatives, which is a good thing to have sometimes as an example. So I'll go one more try here, and you can work your way through this one, okay? So again, I'm going to make my brackets, put my brackets in, okay? Everything else I'm going to leave out for now until I have my answers, and you'll see here when I work on them. So 1 and 28, 28 and 1. Right? 2 times 14, 14 times 2, and 4 times 7, and 7 times 4. Lots of options there. I'm going to draw all the way down, and I get to 8. It'll be 8 and 1 and 2 times 4. The nice thing is there's only 2 of them on the bottom, right? And so now we're going to just work our way through 20 and, oh yes, once again, whoops, kind of jumped, exploded a big on here. Again, we're looking for a difference. This one tells me it's a difference. It tells me one of these sides is going to be positive, one is going to be negative. That's the only way I can get a negative answer there, okay? So once again, I go 1 times 8 and 1 times 28. The difference would be 20. I'm looking for a difference of only 2, okay? This time, only a difference of 2. That didn't work. How about 4 and 56? No, that's not going to work for me. And then 28 times 8? No. And 1, that's a real big number. That's like 200 and change. And 1, no, they're not going to have a difference of 2. okay? And then 4 times 28, that's going to be like 112, and 2, no, they're not going to work. So those 28 ones are gone. Let's go to the next one. 2 times 8, that's 16, and 1 times 4, oh my goodness, that works. There we go. There we have a pair that are going to work for me. See that? 8 and 14. Sorry, 16, and 2 times 8 is 16. I'm going to write the numbers in here. And 14 times 1 is 14. That gives me two numbers that have a difference of 2. Now, I want the answer to be negative, so that means the 16 has to be bigger. That means the negative goes in front of the 8. That means the positive is on this side. And so what we end up with is 2x plus 1 and 14x minus 8. And so here we go, 2x plus 1 and 14x minus 8. Now, once again, if you're observant, you'll realize that, oh my goodness, Mr. Liu, you are not paying attention. You could have factored out a 2 right off the start, and that would have made your life easier. Wouldn't have had so many numbers here, but I did it the long, hard way. But now I see that there's a 2 to factor out, so I can go like this. I can write down 2 bracket 7x minus 4. That's factoring a 2 out of here and bringing it out front, and then I multiply the 2x plus 1 on the end. And again, if you reverse the order of these in any way, it doesn't really matter. We just usually put the whole number out the front. That's the sort of math way to do it, right? Or the correct mathematical way. All right, so that's factoring using the T method. I quite like it. It's, I don't know, a lot of rough work and a lot of thinking going on over here, but it's kind of simple and clean, and I get right to my answer. In a sense, you're putting down all the possible options for factors of 28x squared here in the first part of the T, and then all the possible factors for 8 in the bottom down here, and you eventually get to your answer by finding them using this like crossover and looking for the difference or the sum, and away you go. Hopefully this helped you understand how to do it. If not, you can always go back and learn to do it with the factoring by grouping method. I would say that most kids, by the time they get to around grade 12, if they're factoring trinomials, they're using the T method because it's kind of like a trial and error method. All right. Hope you like that. Tune into YouTube for the other lesson on factoring by grouping if you'd like to learn that as well.